Good evening, everybody. Good morning and also good afternoon, because I know this is a global roundtable with people joining us from right across the globe. And so it is wherever you are, it is good. And that's what really matters. This is Kiran Shaiva, and really a very warm welcome on behalf of the iDobro and Rise Infinity Foundation team to the Rise World Summit. This is our 8th edition and our 4th roundtable today. So we've had 3 phenomenal roundtables earlier than this. In fact, the first one was so much that I think we could have easily gone on for 2 hours more, but obviously we had limited time. So I hope we are going to have the same kind of energy and the same kind of deep conversations that we've had through the day, having it one more time over here. So once again, to get started, I am going to request and have the context set for this roundtable for us by Ms. Urmila Sarkar, the Senior Advisor, Generation Unlimited, UNICEF, to please say a few words and set the context for this roundtable before we kind of get started. I'm also going to make one more request, Urmila, before you start, is to kind of request everybody to maybe quickly rename themselves, because it'll just help us to get to know each other faster, quicker, and better, with your name, your city, yeah, and finally your organization. I'm going to do it myself, and hopefully that will be a good way to get started.
Thanks very much, Karen, and I'm really excited to be here. And thanks so much for inviting the Generation Unlimited. It's really an honor to speak at this Global Rise Summit, focused on beyond boundary search for unity and find opportunity. Really innovative approach, linking all of us around the world. Great to see that. So just as Karen has asked me to set a bit of the context. First of all, as we know, today's 1.8 billion young people are grappling with a world that is transforming quickly, rapidly due to digitalization, technological change, and automation. And this has all been accelerated by the global COVID-19 pandemic. And these challenges, as we know, are really more acute for youth in disadvantaged communities and those who lack opportunities because of their gender, because of their race, sexuality, disability, or ethnic background. We have something like 200 million secondary school age children that are not in school. There are 267 million young people today who are not in education, training, and employment, and 2/3 of these are young women. And so many other young people that are working in the informal economy, many working hard, long hours, and in hazardous conditions. And this really represents a tremendous loss, a wasted potential. So at Generation Unlimited, we're on a mission to change that and empower all young people, wherever they may be, to realize their potential to create better education, skills, and employment opportunities for youth and help them to become entrepreneurs. And GenU, just to give a bit of background, GenU for short, is a multi-sector partnership platform present in 45 countries across 7 regions and aims to rally around major private sector organizations, governments, championing youth development, civil society organizations, and many of the partners represented here from the UN, and partnerships for young people. So in 1 year, GenU has managed to scale and expand globally from 3 countries initially. And we'll also hear from Dhuwar in India about GenU, and we'll also hear from Kosovo some of the really exciting work going on. Other countries like Kenya, Bangladesh, to now we have 45 countries where the platform is present. And I think what this demonstrates is the high priority that governments have been giving to investing in young people, in addition to the real range of partners in this globally in this space. COVID-19 has really put a spotlight on the digital divide. And it's brought a clear picture of existing inequalities. We know that over 1 billion students have been affected by school closures. So what at GenU we try to do is leverage on our strength as a public-private partnership platform, and mobilizing world leaders across sectors to join in this agenda, in this collective agenda, and really try to do something for the next generation and the generation today. The young people whose lives have really been upended by the pandemic, whether in education or work. That's why we are convening partners to accelerate results towards connectivity, towards connecting them to world-class digital solutions, as well as boosting entrepreneurial skills and really empowering them as change makers. And while, I'm proud to say that the platform has reached 100 million young people to date since its inception in 2018, there's still so much more work to do. There's still so many more millions of young people to reach. And young people are really at the heart of this partnership. And that's why we've created youth engagement mechanisms. And I know that some of the speakers here today, some of our young members will speak, which is great, to look at how do we create opportunities for young people, especially the most marginalized and the disadvantaged. And we'll hear from those voices that design solutions from their own perspectives with potentials for scale in the areas of education, entrepreneurship, empowerment. Just this past year, we managed to reach over 15 young people through GenU's Youth Challenge, youth-led social entrepreneurship, and we'll also hear about that. Establish the kinds of mechanisms or structures to institutionalize and really enable youth participation in decision-making processes at all levels. We have young people as partners and joint decision makers at all levels in our governance structures, and we'd encourage that for others. And to really leverage the global youth engagement platform. I know that are many that have joined today in all the work that we do. So GenU aims to provide towards a prosperous future for young people and is really committed to working with partners and making the decade of action to achieve the SDGs. Youth really represent enormous opportunities to transform economic and social outcomes to advance the Sustainable Development Goals. We're seeing the promise of young people shining, a generation that truly sees the power of working together to solve the world's challenges. To conclude, let's work together and harness the energy and creativity of young people. And I understand too, we'll have a chance to exchange and discuss around this and provide them the opportunities and platforms for really innovating transformative solutions. After all, it really is their time, their turn, and their future. So with that, I thank again for inviting me and really look forward to the discussion and the interventions from everyone here today. And I pass back to you, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Urmila. I think you really set the tone. And as you said, it is their time, their future. And it's a lot of work for us to look at and responsibility too. So thank you very much for setting that context. And from there, I think we need to have the voice of youth, as Urmila also spoke about. And so I'm going to invite and request Laurette Raka, the Youth and Adolescent Development Officer from UNICEF Kosovo, to please say a few words and help us set this context. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, and honorable colleagues, guests, and all participants. It's quite my honor to be in front of you today and share our experience when it comes to the localization of the Generation Unlimited from the country context perspective. So thanks, Urmila, once again for the great wrap-up of the GenU Global. Me actually gradually embark into a specific country context. In this case, how our office have adopted the Generation Unlimited in Kosovo, which again, and I will keep emphasizing and highlighting this fact that it's under the foundation of convening this multi-sector coalition with the government, private sector, other UN agencies, young people at the center of this entire interaction and action. So as I move forward with my speaking points, to get a better understanding of the context, I will converge it with our approach to address issues and characteristics, but at the same time meet four identified work streams or priorities of the GenU. So which is related with the connectivity around every school and learner to the internet, to scale up online remote learning, skilling, but as well livelihood solutions, boost entrepreneurial skills, but as well engage young people as change makers and put them in the driving seat for leading change in their communities. So while transitioning to the approach, I would like to enter the conversation from three angles. The first one is around the equity gaps. So what it means to be young people in Kosovo. I mean, the COVID-19 affected the socioeconomic aspects. And if we refer to reliable data, we see that the economy is shrinking by more than 70%. So on top of that, we have already a very weak situation around the youth unemployment, whereby around 54% of young people are unemployed. There is a big mismatch between the education, labor market, and employment, which can be described actually from two perspectives. The first one is around the lack of experiential learning opportunity provided to young. And the second one, how or to what extent we can equip young people with the 21st century skills around the communication, problem solving, working in the team, or even creativity. In addition, the mental health is becoming one of the emerging issues among young people, not only in Kosovo, but worldwide. And the quality of education is not meeting the requirements from the private sector. So in addressing this, let's let's go to the point around how we can create an enabling environment by putting an emphasis on the synergies, but as well on the good entry points that we have. So if you look to the population structure, we have the 54% of population which are under the age of 25. Kosovo is in a demographic dividend, and according to the UNICEF study, we are in the early demographic dividend stage, which means that the window of opportunity is still open to reap the benefits of the human capital. Internet penetration in Kosovo is almost reaches 90% of its territory, and in addition is very comparable to developed countries. And the question remains to address how to adapt the good global model into a local context. So what we did as the office, we have been pioneering in certain initiatives around the social innovation, social entrepreneurship, whereby young people were at the driving seat. So we have identified three areas: fostering job preparation through the internship model, a strong internship model. The second one is modernizing the secondary education and training to build the skills for young people. And in doing so, we have recently launched the Learning Passport, which is a Microsoft product jointly developed with the University of Cambridge and the UNICEF. And the third one is to prepare a national investment agenda and stakeholder mapping, whereby we set really a good vision and a strong vision for leading the agenda for young people. And in doing so, we have developed a quadruple helix model, whereby the Kosovo's Generation Unlimited model is established and has put the private sector at the center of the action. So apart from the private sector, we have young people who are hand by hand with certain stakeholders in developing solutions and programs. The third actor are UNICEF and other UN agencies in Kosovo. And the fourth component, of course, is the government. More respectively, the line ministries, the one from the Education and Science, and the other one is the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. So what we did, we have tapped into existing initiatives. The first one is that we have been piloting the skills-based education. Kosovo has been a source of developing well-known and globally recognized programs such as Upshift, Podium, and Ponder. The second one, we have established a mentorship program with a corporate social responsibility network in Kosovo, whereby its employees, young entrepreneurs, but as well the young professionals have joined hands by hands young people to develop the solutions. And the third one is the Learning Passport. So how it looks, a youth journey, I mean, young people, they get the skills, but what was the missing gap is how to connect them or how to transition from school to work. And in doing so, we have launched the internship platform, which apart from the program, the mentorship component, as well has developed the first matchmaking platform for young people, for businesses, and for non-governmental agencies. So as we speak, I mean, from the first cohort of our intervention, we have quite a good ratio of those interns who were employed by the private sector entities. But as well, what is more an achievement for our side is the skills that are gaining and the benefits they are gaining throughout their journey in this context. So happy to share more while we move with the agenda forward. Over from my side, thank you once again.
Thank you so very much, Laurette. I think there's a lot that is happening, and with that canvas that you've drawn for us, I think we have a lot on our roundtable to really take forward and kind of talk further in terms of taking it further. So thank you very much. And for the last lens or the last part of the context setting that we would like to have, which is the India context, may I please request Dwarka Sriram, the Chief of Adolescent Development and Generation Unlimited in India, to please say a few words from the India context.
Thank you, Karen. It gives me a great pleasure to be part of this roundtable, where we bring in our experiences and thoughts on reimagining critical needs of the hour, employment, skilling, and participation of young people. It's an opportunity to learn from each other and especially interacting with young people. This is, in fact, the favorite part of my job at UNICEF. They have shared their hopes and dreams, but they have also shared their fears and challenges, especially now during the COVID-19 times. Will they get the education they need? Are they learning the right skills? Can they find a job? What are the opportunities out there? How can we find them? Today, there are more than 300 million young people in India. Meeting their needs will be a big challenge, but it's also a big opportunity. GenU was launched as Yuva in India, a name that was chosen by the young people themselves. UA is an ambitious multi-stakeholder partnership alliance with long-term goals to engage 300 million young people as change leaders, equip 200 million with skills they need for the future, including 21st century skills, and finally to create pathways to jobs and entrepreneurship. UA's strength lies in bringing together the ecosystem and scaling up initiatives that have been functioning in silos, thus increasing the reach and the impact. It's an opportunity to come together and help each other build a better and sustainable future with and for young people. The questions we have been asking ourselves are: can every school anywhere in the country be connected to the internet? Can we connect education with skills that might need for a young person to get a job? In our everyday life and work, are there ways we could support young people? Can we support young people to reach out to other young people? Yuva has also recalibrated its strategy towards COVID response, focusing more on digital and remote solutions for young people, especially for those marginalized, those from tribal areas, those with special needs, etc. To make sure continued learning reaches young people, we scaled up career guidance, skills training, entrepreneurship, and psychosocial support sessions to reach more than 18 million young people. We also created new interventions, such as the digital learning platform called UNI Learn, which has more than 200 courses on 21st century skills and vocational skills. Another intervention that we're just testing out is it's called Fundo, which is a chat-based program to deliver 21st century skills in a practical and interactive way. Since partnerships lie at the core of Yuva, key strategic relationships were forged to ensure improved and continued civic engagement, career guidance, and job connect for young people. These partnerships include the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, the state governments of Punjab and Delhi, and PricewaterhouseCoopers, among many others who have joined us. Through these partnerships, we have been able to reach more than 4 million young people as change makers in their communities and actively responding to the COVID-19 response as well. From this journey, we have learned that we need to be dynamic and innovative to face new challenges and old problems, especially when it comes to solutions with and for young people during and post pandemic. Another key learning from our journey has been that we cannot do this alone. We need to share the best practices, but also the failures as learnings, find opportunities for collaborations, as well as hear from solution providers and young people. We need ideas that are big and small, local and global. This, in the end, is our responsibility. It's our duty to leave a legacy of hope and opportunity for them, but also along with them. For our youth participants with us today, I would like to say that GenU and Yuva belongs to you, just as the future of this world belongs to you. So help us think big, be bold, and lead your own agendas and thrive. As Uma said, it's your time. So speak up and don't give up until you're heard. Your generation is the one that has potential to change the course of the globe. The partners who have collaborated with GenU and Yuva, ranging from government, UN agencies, civil society organizations, and private sector, some of them with us here today, are standing with you to invest in ideas and solutions to support you. So let's start our discussions today, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dwarka. That was really excellent, and it gives hope for a country like as complex as India. So thank you so much for sharing that information. We are going to get started with our roundtable, and I'm really pleased to have Thomas Myron, the Senior Advisor, Country Support, Generation Unlimited Global Secretariat, to moderate the session along with me. And to take this further, I would like to first maybe, just say a few names who have joined us and thank them really for giving their time for this really special roundtable. So to get started, I think I would like to really thank Roland, the CEO of Aflaton. Roland, would you like to just say hi? It would be really nice.
We would. Sorry, good Good evening and good afternoon. It's great pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so very much. We have Rakesh Kaul, partner, PricewaterhouseCoopers. Rakesh, do we have you?
Hey, hello everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. We also have with us Mohanad Al-Zara, the Executive Director of INA's Education. May I have Mohanad say hi to us, please?
Yes, hi, how are you? It's Mohanad.
Thank you so much. And last but not the least, we have Rama Iyer, the Director of WPP India Foundation. Rama?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Lovely being here. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And as Urmila, as well as Dwarka and Laurette said, this is about youth. And so we definitely need to recognize our youth who are in the room, because they are the reason we are here, isn't it? And to start with, may I request Amanda Kong from Malaysia. Amanda?
Yeah, hi everyone.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah? We also have Aparna Shukla from SBI Foundation.
Hi everyone, pleasure to be here.
Thank you so very much. And I just wish I could go around the room and really recognize each and every person over here, because this conversation is so important. And because it's so important, you giving us time for that, for this conversation is so really important. So I do hope that during the course of this conversation, you will share with us, a little bit about yourself. And we are looking forward to learn more about each and every one over here. This roundtable, as we have said, is very organic in nature, and we definitely hope that it's not going to be about one section of people talking or one set. It's really about all of us coming together. And to really get started, now that the context has been set, we do know some of our key people around the round table. We want to really get started and talk about why are we here, right? We have all been talking that we do want to have and see certain outcomes that we want for the youth over here. But at the end of the day, we also know it's not easy. It is definitely not easy. And that's why the roundtable methodology that we talk about is really not about what everybody is doing, which is, of course, what we are going to learn during the course of the conversation, but really as a starting point is to look at what has been those challenges. We don't tend to talk too much about challenges. We tend more to talk about what we've done. But really what I would like us to start with is, what are those challenges that we have faced in our own programs, in our own initiatives, in our own plans to get them implemented? And how do you, how would you like to share a little bit about that to really set the context going? And really, because it's about the youth, I would really love to have one of our youth come forward and maybe talk a little bit about what it is that they are going through and where is the challenge really to be focused on.
Thank you, Karen. If I can please jump in as well. Thanks so much to you and other participants and panelists as well. It's an absolute honor and pleasure to be here on not just an exciting topic, but an incredibly important topic as well. And colleagues have done such a great job to set the scene. And Karen, absolutely. And as Dhuwar said, this is with and for young people. So it's only appropriate that we start with young people as well. And one of the young people that we actually work with very closely in GenU, particularly in Jordan, but also expanding that partnership, his name is sayyaleh. He is the founder of I Learn Jordan Initiatives, which is a fantastic initiative that I would ask him to also briefly touch upon too. And Saddam, if I can just call on you, to Karen's point, to explain a little bit about the challenges that you have seen, not just as a young person, but also double hatting as a young person going through these extraordinary, challenging times, what your peers have seen, what you've seen in Jordan and maybe the region, but also how you see this spanning out going forward. What will the challenges in the situation for young people be in a post-COVID era? And of course, how are you seeing pre-positioning some of these programs and the shifts that are needed to be put in place going forward there? So Saddam, thank you. I see your face there and you're unmuted. So please, we appreciate your reflections.
Thank you, Thomas, and thank you, everyone. This is very exciting. I've been hearing, from the beginning, it's a great motivation, nice words, and I'm very happy to see many young people engaged in such round tables, because it's such a, I think in today's world, as someone who started a social enterprise in Jordan, in MENA region, and I'm sure everyone see it in the news, it's not a very easy environment, but as many young people, worldwide, there's so many challenges regarding, skills attainment and education attainment in regards of employment. And I think in today with COVID and post-COVID, I think there will be so many challenges to obtain, the type of jobs that give security to young people for them to have a better path in the future. We see today a huge trend in, it's been a year that their countries had been a lot of closures in schools and educational academic institutions. And that created a huge question worldwide, on a personal scale, and but also the future, the employment, the skills that young people have today. It's all under question, and how is it helping them to navigate through this crisis? And the way we navigate today, it's all about partnerships. Like today with Generation Unlimited, bringing everyone around the purpose to bridge a gap between employment and skills globally. This is the type of things young people, I think, aspire to have, a situation where young people are part of the partnerships. It's not just about big institutions parachuting solutions on young people, but young people are part of the discussion and their voices heard, but their also actions are coming out from these conversations. So today is it the opportunity what young people are looking for, an opportunity where they have a voice that is heard, but also an action afterwards, not just being heard. How can we translate these voices into actions to help in to obtain the jobs that they need, to create businesses, initiatives, social enterprises, to create an income for themselves? And today, I think young people need the skills to be able to navigate into the digital world, because we are online today, and this is all new, and not many young people have this skill to be where we are today. And we need to come together and help everyone to be in a place where they are actually navigating, the future, especially post COVID-19. Personally, there has been a lot of challenges, whether in a smaller circle or a bigger circle, globally and locally, I would say. And I think the solution comes in one word: partnerships. I think working alone is not going to work anymore. So coming together is the way forward, and that's actually the modality when I created iLearn, and that's why we survived COVID-19, or we're surviving COVID-19, is because we did not build something of all of our own. We actually built partnerships that they came around us when a crisis happened, and this is a kind of a mindset that we need to create around young people. And actually help young people with strong partnerships so they can navigate through different crises, whether the refugee crisis, the climate crisis, or the unemployment. And today, there's a huge discussion about employment and unemployment, and we need we all need to come together. And that's how I see it. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to say something here.
Thank you so very much. I think the work that you're doing, is very, very important, especially the context in which you are working in. So definitely makes a huge difference with the youth. And we have many more youth voices with us, as you said. It's about getting their voice right here in front of decision makers, in front of people who are going to decide on a lot of different kinds of programs that are going to be there. And I'd like to see that we do have Richa Gupta, Abhinav, Argentina, Sandhya, Hassan Al-Akra, Jubilee, and of course the others that I've already mentioned. So that's really great to know that we have even more voices that are going to help us, understand more of the challenges that you gave. So Saddam, you again gave us a very long list, and there is a lot that we need to kind of look at for sure. But I would like to say now that, if we could have maybe a voice that comes in which says that, okay, fine, if this is the youth voice, how do we perceive these problems? I mean, we talk about employment, we talk about so many things from the youth perspective, but there is also a larger perspective that we need to make sure that the ecosystem is ready to understand these very specific things. And so it'll be really great to maybe, bring in Roeland. Would you like to maybe say a few words and, kind of look at these challenges? As I said, I would really appreciate if we could focus on the challenges that you feel are there from the wider ecosystem perspective. Unmute.
Thank you, Karen, and very much thank you to Saddam for his insightful introduction. Many challenges, but I do want to summarize in 3 sentences what we have heard so far, because it's really about the integrated issues. What young people are facing is the challenge to successfully transition from school to work life, to transition from childhood to adulthood, and as they transition through their adolescenthood, there are so many challenges they're facing, and it's talk about sexual reproductive health issues, protection issues, child labor issues, too many to mention, and we need to recognize that there's a very large group of adolescents, young people who will never complete their education. They will drop out of school before at an age where they are not reaching the subjects yet where they would learn issues on employability and entrepreneurship. Secondly, a large majority of young people as adults are not financially literate. So they don't have the money to understand money to make a living in the future, to transition to that work life. And the reality is in places like South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, over 90% of young people will end up in the informal sector. They will not get a job with the corporate sector or with the government, although everybody's dreaming about that. The reality is that 90% are not getting that job they want. So how can we respond? And then I'm talking really about the challenges is first of all, it's the mindset of all these different well-wishing organizations, because when you look at the response, it's a public health response on sexual and reproductive health. It's an education response. It's a protection response. It's an employability response. But what is really the response on giving these young people the entrepreneurial skills to be successful in life? And that's falling between the cracks, and everybody recognizes it, but nobody is really touching it in a systematic way. And that's why I really love Generation Unlimited, but because that initiative might be able to bring all these different actors together, because we all have to contribute. So that's the biggest issue for the organizations. Secondly is, as we roll out our programs, I think we need to not only think about the mindset of the adolescents, the individuals, but also the families and the communities. In many countries, still the pressure to go to university and get that government job is enormously, while only a few will actually touch that. So it's not only working with young people, which I'm happy to see are so well represented today, but also thinking about the wider community. And again, the recognition, repeating it again and I'll stop, is the mindset that most vulnerable young people will not be in school at the age of 15. So when we're talking about delivery models, of course, first of all, we need to start early with reaching children earlier in school at the age of 10 or earlier. But secondly, identifying scalable delivery models for young people we need to reach out of school. And there are some really good examples, and I see some participants here who can share that with you, but those are key points I see working with over 300 partners around the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roeland. I think you brought up so many points again that, it's really, I would like to have maybe a youth now maybe tell us something, because one of the key things you said was 90% do not get the job they want, right? And I think that's just an unbelievable number, right? When we talk about us wanting a career, us wanting an aspiration, to meet our aspirations. If 90% is not getting what they want, then what is happening? So maybe I could call in maybe one of the youth to come and talk about this. And Thomas, what do you think? how do we start looking at? Because I'm looking at that statement, and another statement that you said is catch them young, because even at the age of 15, the chances are that they're not in school already, right? They're already out of school. If that's the case, and we have to look at them really young, then what are those kind of places that we could potentially hope to be able, or what are those programs that have actually been trying to do that, but finding it very challenging to do that? So Thomas, maybe you could help me here.
Thank you, Roland, for those excellent points, and thanks, Karen. Certainly keep. Let's look at a young person to reply this, and also working in marginalized areas, particularly focus on the young and the marginalized. And as such, Sandhya, you work a lot on civil rights, civil liberties, and also with the most marginalized, including young people looking at the garbage disposal, at their right to play, and especially girls' right to play in the evenings as well. So a lot of protection issues. Can you please share a little bit about your perspective on exactly what Roland said there, the need to make sure that we have targeted interventions that actually work, and that we pick these up at a young age to make sure that we reduce this 90% down to the absolute minimum? Sandhya, over to you, please.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Yes, I work with a group of children who fight for our rights. Like, we stand for children's rights and climate change. We live in a slum area, and we try to spread awareness among the people. So far we have been working on rights like right to play and right to education, and to have a clean environment. So, like, we feel as a team it is really important to have clean environment, because we are breathing, we are living in that area and that place for like 24/7, and it is going to affect our health. And it is really important for adults and everybody to focus on health, which, like, by the definition of UN, it is like mental, physical, emotional, all aspects. So it is really important to focus on the health of the children, and we can do that by like having counselors, and like in school, having career guidance and so many counselors who can help us. And because in India, mostly the families are not that supportive, and the parents are also very busy, and like children do not have that safe space to go and speak up what they want, and speak what they need. And it is really important to be heard, and I feel we need to create that space where children feel free to speak and say what they feel and let it out and find a solution for that. And I feel this is one of the space where I have got to speak what children need, and I hope, like, I try to do justice with it. I feel uh, we tend to forget the rights. Like, children have a voice, and children feel things. Children have like, they play an important role in the development of the country, and that aspect should be kept in mind. And hence, like, in every other decision making space, or even in education system, we need to be treated equally. Like, we are an important stakeholder, and that should be kept in mind. And whenever we are deciding anything for the children, we must make sure that children are included, their perspective is included, and that's how that's how we get a better and compatible solution. Like, this is my thought.
Yes. Thank you so very much, Sandhya. That thought is, please hold on to it, because it's going to be a long haul, but it's going to be the driver of whatever you are going to do and achieve in your life. So thank you so much for sharing those thoughts with us, because I think it's really important. And as you kept mentioning, thank you. It is about the voice of youth, and to be a part of all decision making, be a part of this design of interventions. I think a lot of interventions and initiatives are taken without taking adequate input from, the youth. And so thank you very much for adding to that. Yeah. We had Eugenio had his hand up earlier, and I'm very happy to bring you into the conversation. I would recommend and request everybody that if you have something to say, there are going to be two ways to do it. One is, of course, we will bring you into the conversation. So please do put your hand up wherever possible, and we'll try and bring you in. Second is, please use the chat. The chat is a very, very dynamic way for us to continuously engage with ourselves as well. So we will be looking at the chat off and on and to pick up things from there. So do put your thoughts down over there, because we don't want even a fleeting thought to be lost if it is something related to our topic, and hopefully that's what it is. So please do use the chat box really, really effectively. Okay, so Thomas, there you are. You have an answer in terms of what the youth is looking for and what we need to do when we are designing our intervention. So where do you think we should kind of look at in terms of what we want to talk in terms of the challenges?
Thank you, Karen. I want to touch upon a couple of things that was mentioned earlier, particularly by Laura and alluded to by from Roeland as well, related to not just the importance of skilling young people with certain skills, but also the changing dynamics going forward, not just as a result of COVID, but also going forward as well in the post-COVID era. We've all read, the multiple articles and various studies to say that 21st century skills will be more important than ever now, that there's a shifting environment with regards to the different industries that will really take off going forward post-COVID. And we keep on hearing exactly what Roeland said, that what is the point of me as a young person getting an education unless I can actually put it to use, unless I can actually realize my dreams and then make those connections as well towards a better future, so I can be productive. And that's really a key piece that I want colleagues to speak about. So either the skilling or the required upskilling. And there was just various reports, including by the World Economic Forum, allowed on that gave different projections to say if this is not a focus, the lack of global GDP, and if we do focus on this, the tremendous opportunities and increase. And of course, in times of challenge and peril such as this is, it really is important to take a look at that. So if somebody can talk about skilling, upskilling, and making sure that we have those linkages between skills, education, and jobs, that would be fantastic. Now, I do have a few people in mind, but please raise your hand as this is an organic session. Ioannis, excellent. Please go ahead, Ioannis.
Can you hear me?
Very well. Please go ahead.
Yes. So thank you, Thomas. Regarding your question on skilling, I think what we've been doing here with Ioannis and with the GenU Nigeria team, and one of the things we've been doing with here in Nigeria in the context of COVID was youth innovation challenges. And one of them that we started was the COVID-19 challenge, where we reached out to young people to understand their realities, opportunities, and what they can do to be able to address the issue of COVID. And we had over 180,000 entries with about 9,000 prototypes. And now we are working with these young people to develop some of those prototypes. But one of the key things that actually came out from that process was the new skills that these young people were able to learn in partnership with Goodwall, Cathedral, and Botna. And so far, since the beginning of COVID, we've reached over 500,000 young Nigerians with different skills, soft skills, critical thinking skills. And now they are thinking different on how to address some of the issues that they face. In fact, we did a U report pool at the end of, we do a U report pool at the end of every year. And interestingly, for 2020, we asked young people using U report, what do they like about U report? What do they like about U report in 2020? 44% of them said they love the issue of challenges, and they wanted to stay involved. 80% said, what would you like to see improved in this year? And most of them said they want to learn new skills that are most relevant. But one of the challenges that we faced, and one of the recommendations that actually came out from this pool, was the issue of challenge fatigue. Most of the young people felt like there were so many challenges. Most of them felt like they learned so many skills, but they don't actually see how those skills can translate from them becoming employed. And that's some of the challenges that we are actually trying to address right now with partners like Goodwall and Katejo. But just to end, one of the key problems that we are facing here in Nigeria is the issue of mental health, and looking at the key priorities for young people, because mental health is still a big challenge. But with partners like Jobberman, we are really developing a soft skills program, and the goal is to reach over 5 million young Nigerians with soft skills that they can be used to become employable, they can be used to become empowered, and pretty much they can be used to start businesses for themselves and not necessarily rely on the government. Thank you. Over.
Excellent. Thank you, Hannes. And that last point resonates very much. And a few weeks ago, I actually heard Roland Monash from Aflaton make that same exact point, that the self-confidence and the mental health piece on just setting up and enduring entrepreneurship is absolutely key. I do want to hand over to Nandini Sood, who is the CEO of Design for Change now. And after that, Taha from Goodwall, maybe you would like to jump in after Nandini as well. So Nandini, pleasure to have you here. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Thomas. I really wanted to add to what was just being said. We also launched the GenU challenge, and it was smack in the middle of the lockdown in India. And we found an amazing amount of resilience. And the program we run at Design for Change, and we've been doing this for 11 years now, is to actually just inculcate 21st century skills using a design thinking framework. It's a very simple framework, and we have managed to simplify and scale it even in a country like India because it's completely experiential. We don't bring any content to the table. And I think simplicity is key for scale for any program. And what you just said about entrepreneurship, and I completely agree, 90% of the children will not get the jobs. They will also not remain in school. But whether the child becomes an electrician or a plumber or gets a job in the service industry, some core skills, and even the World Economic Forum has been saying for the longest, the most three important skills is critical thinking, creativity, and creative problem solving. If there were simple ways to just roll this out and have every child experience it, and then add that layer of entrepreneurship so that they become job creators, not only seekers, because in a country like India, there is not going to be a possibility of employing so many people. There will not be so many jobs. So ideally, if each young person could be enabled with entrepreneurial mindset and skills, I think that is something we should really, really work at. And it could be just an amalgamation of 3-4 things put together. I think we could potentially create a lot of, enabled young people. I do totally believe that.
Thank you, Nandini, for your valuable remarks there. And absolutely, while we need to focus on innovation and entrepreneurship, we also need to make sure that we also bring this to scale and bring this to the masses too, to make sure that we get the linkages there. One such partner that actually looks at scale, working in over 100 countries with many, many partners is Goodwall, which is also a close partner with Generation Unlimited as well. And I'd very much invite Taha Bawa, the co-founder of Goodwall, to enter into some remarks. And then after that, please, I will call on Madan to please speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Thomas, for having us. And thank you, everyone. Thank you. It's such an honor for us to be on this call and to be part of the Generation Unlimited initiative. I apologize if I cut off. My internet has
Let's see, Taha, I think you were just saying your internet was a challenge, and I think that remains true. Taha, are you there? Okay, so maybe while we wait for Taha to reconnect, if I can please call on Madan.
A bit shoddy. So I'm started off by helping youth. Sorry, Thomas, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Taha. We just lost you for a bit. Let's try again, and if not, we will try you in a few minutes after Madan Padaki. But please go ahead.
All right, I'll try one last time, and if it doesn't work, well, I'm sorry. Please reach out to me, or I'll reach out to you guys.
We will try again. Please go ahead.
A little bit about Goodwall. So we're really helping. We're a mobile-first platform that serves over 1.5 million youth around the world and helps them essentially showcase themselves, connect to opportunities, and be supported within a like-minded community. We started off with high school students, and we grew with them through college and into the young professional space. And it's all about leveling the playing field and giving access to experiential learning opportunities. Today, we work with organizations around the world, and within the context of YOMA, which we're really, really passionate about, we've been helping essentially youth showcase themselves, participate in weekly challenges, win funding, and support. You know, a big part of what we do is not only access to opportunity, but inspiration and like-minded support, right? So the importance of seeing other youth from around the world, other girls, we focus on gender equality, other girls from around the world, and other role models from around the world is such an important element. You know, in response to COVID-19, we worked with UNICEF and GenU on a challenge. I'm sorry about it's like it's pouring now. So in response, we launched a Better Together program, which was 30 plus partners, 5 weeks of challenges. And one of the most impressive metrics that we think is most important was that 97% of youth, 50,000 participants, felt more confident and positive about the future, which is just so important when we think about them navigating their futures. Yeah, we're really proud to be here. And, you know, there's so much that's already been said, so I'm not going to repeat it, but we're trying to engage at scale in terms of driving those entrepreneurial thinking skills and driving those access to opportunities, whether they be learning, earning, and entrepreneurship. I'm sorry, it's like not the best pitch or description because it keeps going in and out, so I'm not sure where I am. But you know, a huge honor to be part of this, and I hope, you know, I see Madan is next, who we're talking to in a week about, you know, joining forces and doing more in other regions. So I think that's what's so great about Generation Unlimited, which is partnerships that were just not possible before, now are. And I think it's, you know, we just can't solve this alone. We all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses, and how we come together to tackle this enormous problem is so inspiring for me, and it's why it's my favorite meeting of the week. Thanks so much again for having us.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ta. Really appreciate that. And just to give a plug to the initiative he was talking about as well through Goodwall and partners, including GenU, the Better Together approach. Right now we have the Better Together Africa, but we're also looking to expand that to other continents as well. So please stay tuned. And as such, I would very much appreciate calling on Madan Padaki, who has an incredible resume, an incredible portfolio as well, but maybe now looking at Madan's fantastic work related to the Global Alliance for Mass Entrepreneurship, GAME for short, which is a network that aims to catalyze large-scale job creation and bring together governments, business, and civil society. Also, to many colleagues' points, it really takes a global village to attack and to solve this problem. We cannot do it by ourselves, and part of GenU's mission is indeed to provide that platform and bring partners together on this. So Madan, it's a pleasure to have you on the call, and very much appreciate your remarks.
Thank you, Thomas, and delighted to be here amongst a lot of friends, our very bright YPAT members from India, and several of, and I'm sure all of you whom I have not met, I'm sure we'll continue to. This is the beginning of work that we need to do together. So thank you. Completely in resonance with all the thoughts that has been shared. At GAME, the Global Alliance for Mass Entrepreneurship, which a few of us co-founded a few years ago, the dream is that how can we really use the lever of entrepreneurship, and especially youth entrepreneurship, to create new jobs of the future. And especially in India, entrepreneurship is talked about the two extremes of the spectrum. One, either tech, geeky, elite entrepreneurship startup, which is accessible only to a few, but also does not create jobs as a direct way. Or we talk of necessity-driven entrepreneurs who are there because they have nothing else to do. I think there's a massive space for opportunity entrepreneurship here. And that's the work that we do together with Yuva in India on how do you really bring in entrepreneurial mindsets and curriculum in schools and colleges across India. We're already running a massive pilot in the government of Delhi schools, where about 1 million kids in 1,000 schools undergo a first hour of their class as an entrepreneurship curriculum by doing stuff rather than the learning in class. And the second thing that we're working on is how do you really help build youth entrepreneurs a pathway that any youth graduating out of a college or entering the workforce at 18 is able to be inspired to be an entrepreneur. There's an aspiration that sets to say, what should I do? How do you get them to get started? And how do you move forward? So we're working on our working group here. So one call to action is for all of you out there. If there are any models of youth entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial mindsets curriculum, and we are in touch with a whole lot of you, but if any one of you where to share resources, ideas, thoughts, and we're putting up a fairly vibrant working group in India, and happy to have any one of you join that group. That's one. The second thought I just want to leave us as a thought process is that, about a few years ago, I attended a TED talk by a very young person called Ishita Katyal, whose TED talk was fascinating. She said, why do adults always ask us, what do you want to be when you grow up? Why can't we be something today? Right? And many times I keep thinking that what if we imagined a world that was run by young people, and if this was a discussion about what young people should be doing to the old guys, what would this conversation look like? Right? So if you can inverse this and say, if you were to imagine a world, and I'm calling all of our young people here, that if you were to run the world, how would you run it, and what role would you expect us old foggies to play in that world? Maybe that will give us insights on how to build this collaborative much better, rather than we saying, what should you guys be doing? Yeah, I just wanted to leave us with that thought, and also just one last point on, and as we are discussing here, I just want to bring in what Gandhiji always said, that it's always about Sarvodaya and Antyodaya, that it is about how do we think of solutions that impact everybody and the last person in the line, right? So I think that if you can keep that context in mind as we are thinking of solutions, then we will surely ensure that no one is left behind.
Okay, so I think, I just want to kind of look at the no one left behind aspect of our conversation now, because that's, of course, a guiding principle for a lot of interventions that are being designed today. And so, to bring in a little bit of the donor voice and a little bit of, the kind of understanding when looking at funding, it really is important for us to get that insight as well, especially after listening to the youth and listening to practitioners. May I request Dipali Khanna to maybe come in and say a few words from your perspective. Dipali? Sorry. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, it looks like we're missing her a little bit, but we could look at another voice that is looking at policy making, perhaps, or in that case, also look at what we are saying in terms of design of programs, etc. So may I request any of the program partners here to maybe say a few words on what is the kind of work y'all are doing and looking at no one left behind as a parameter in your program design. Can I have some hands up, please? Others, I'm going to have to pull. Yes?
There are a couple hands up, Karen.
Yes. Otto, thank you so very much. Why don't you please jump in? Yeah, great.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Arundam Otto, and I would just need to speak quickly because I have to run. I'm speaking from Lagos, Nigeria, and I run an organization called Slum to School Africa. We are one of the leading volunteer organizations on the continent, Africa. And we also work with several stakeholder partners that we have, on this call. So it's great listening to Johannes speak about the work that that Generation Unlimited is doing here in Nigeria. And a number of our beneficiaries, a number of our learners participated in that program. And I think it's really very important because just like Madan had said, we underestimate the potential that young people have. Interestingly, we had two of our young learners who were 14 and 13 years old who also gave a TED Talk on that same topic. The fact that we always ask young people what they want to be in future, forgetting that they can do so much today. And if we look at what young people are doing across the African continent, there's so much tremendous impact they're creating, but because we haven't given them the platforms, their impact are usually very limited. When the COVID-19 pandemic broke out, we realized that thousands of our learners were unable to learn, across communities. And one of the things we realized was the learning does not only have to happen in the four walls of a classroom. We have different forms of education, the formal education, the informal education, the semi-formal education, and we realized that one of the most important forms of education happens in the home, in the community. But as practitioners, as educators, we measure learning outcomes. Majority of the measurement for learning outcomes is what happens in the classroom. And so it was important that we took learning into the community. We built what we call learning clusters across communities in small circles. And we saw that the results that were achieved in those learning clusters were over 50% more impactful than what was achieved in the classroom. And today we are collaborating with UNICEF to take that program to over 500,000 learners in northern Nigeria. We built what was the first virtual learning studio in Nigeria and on the African continent. And this was really very impactful because most of the communities we serve, most of the young people we support come from low-income families, what we call slums. And majority of those young people never had access to technology. They never had access to learning devices. Now, providing that access to them. Yes, someone speaking.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, providing that access to those devices for them was just a game changer. We saw so many young people who started building various forms of innovations, who were able to start researching by themselves, who were able to start watching technology videos, participating in virtual activities through the virtual learning studio. And that impact had been very significant. So I believe that every young person is a star. Every young person has a potential. Our education system today was designed for the 19th century, the 20th century. The world has moved way fast, ahead of that reality. We need to also get our education system to move. We need to start measuring, the learning outcomes based on the realities of today. We shouldn't judge monkeys' abilities to swim, and we shouldn't judge fishes by their abilities to climb trees. We should get rid of the standardized a model where every child is measured based on the same principles, because every child is unique. Everyone is special and spectacular. And so it's very important that we build an education system that measures apples for apples and oranges for oranges, and not a standardized test system. And finally, I think it's very important as well that we try to ensure that every young person believes in themselves. We should demystify, and I'm going to speak for the reality in several African countries, even in my home country, Nigeria. Now, universities are giving more reputation, more accreditation, more prestige than technical colleges and polytechnics. So you see every young person wants to become a doctor, an engineer, an accountant, a lawyer. But those careers and those career choices are very limited. We also need to start putting some level of prestige and honor on becoming an electrician, becoming a mechanic, becoming a plumber. There's so many vocational programs and vocational training professions that are very reputable. And we need to ensure that we give each one of those careers the reputation it deserves, because young people will start feeling comfortable in themselves to pursue a diversity of careers. We shouldn't just limit it to what we call the white collar jobs. We should bring in the several opportunities and give young people an opportunity to thrive. So it's a pleasure listening to you and also sharing my thoughts.
Thank you so much, Otto. I think that was really great listening to you, and I'm glad we caught you just before you had to leave. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. Great. So I'm going to now ask Rakesh to please come in and talk a little bit about the work that you are doing, because we are now moving into the next section of the conversation, from challenges into capabilities. And we've seen some of those capabilities already being spoken about, some of the kind of programs that are already being rolled out. So we are already moving very naturally, and that's how it should be, that the challenges should lead to solutions. And so with that in mind, Rakesh, may I please ask you to share a little bit about what are the kind of interventions, solutions, and innovations we can think about and know from you a little bit.
Thank you so much. I totally resonate with what I've heard from all the panelists up till now, and it's been a great experience being here. I've been kind of involved with large programs, rollouts in India, and how they have been conceived. Because here we talk of large scale, and whatever kind of works for India can work for the rest of the world, because we are talking of 1.3 billion people to address with whatever we do. And in our endeavor, I think we also did touch upon the fact that we are talking of education, skill, and employment primarily in this case. And I think if I kind of look at all three, and at the other level, we also talked about how do we get the civil society, the citizen, and the government and the businesses to come together to solve for these huge societal challenges. So I think given these two things in place and the challenges that we just heard, I think a couple of things that come to my mind as we try and solve, especially as part of the UI in India, having looked at some of these programs, we thought it is best to create a kind of a technology platform which allows for this kind of collaboration to happen for people, all the three, which is civil society, government, and businesses, to come together and solve for pertinent problems of today. Now, for example, for education, how do we democratize the content creation? How do we ensure that we create content which addresses the language barriers, which makes it relevant for the people who are reading it in the context, has examples which are more relevant to the way they are living and their world examples, so that they can relate more with what they are studying? How do we ensure that whatever they are reading is also relevant to the level they are in, and just access to internet alone does not kind of distract them from the level of learning that they want to do? How do you ensure all of that through a platform at the education level? And I think the focus here is to democratize content creation and consumption in that sense, and that would allow all the current providers of content to come together and make it available on a ubiquitous platform for everybody to use. As regards skill, I think the challenges are even bigger, because portability of skilled transcript in itself is a challenge. For example, in ITIs here or beyond, with one country to the other, the definition of plumber or a carpenter or their experience, etc., is defined in a way that it becomes extremely difficult for portability. And when at a base level we are unable to define portability, it becomes very difficult to look at standardized jobs creations for them. So therefore, creating portability in transcripts for vocational skills, as we just heard, or for skills like plumber and all of electricians and all of that? How do we create first a content which they can consume in terms of beyond just the the school K-12 education? How can that content be created? That requires a lot of work in terms of standardization. Then how do we ensure that their credentials are portable? And third, how do we also ensure that for the gap between what is being taught to them as a vocational skill is aligned to the way the industry today wants them, and therefore bridging that gap in itself is a challenge. And I think a platform like what we are conceiving in India might help bridge that gap in itself. And the third part, I think, is about, we talked about entrepreneurship, we talked about, and we are talking here about very small endeavors by individuals who will be guided by mentors. And I think one of the key elements to be solved there is, how do we provide microfinance to them and allow that finance not to be only based on assets or collaterals that they have to provide, because that's not available with them, but how do you ensure a flow based finance to them, so that they can increase, they can use that and make their entrepreneurial endeavor a success. So I think if we are able to solve for democratized content, portability of transcripts for skills, and make flow-based lending available, I'm sure we can move the needle on the things that we want for the youth to happen. And I think that's the endeavor we have for the kind of platform we would be looking at for Yuva in India. And we will leverage the existing platforms there are and create a kind of a mother platform to solve some of these problems. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rakesh. I was thinking, Thomas, we should be talking with Chris, and if Chris is there, we could definitely bring him into the conversation. But also, please, you also start thinking. Let's look at what kind of new other thoughts can we bring in to start moving towards the collaboration, because we are looking at different solutions. So what can we bring in?
Chris Morris from the Asian Development Bank, unless there are any other Chris's online as well.
No, right now you're the only Chris we know. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Well, Karen, thank you very much for the opportunity, and congratulations for RISE and with this summit, and UNICEF in leading this conversation through their GenU initiative. And it's wonderful to see so many partners and young people online this evening. And it is you initially started with challenges, and I'll reflect a little bit on that, but also then come to some ideas on the solution side. But let me just quickly introduce myself from the Asian Development Bank. I'm head of our NGO and Civil Society Center based here in Manila, our headquarters, but I also lead what is a unique initiative within multilateral development banks. We act called the Youth for Asia initiative. We have a team of young people, the number about 10 at the moment, that work together with me and our ADB project officers in ensuring that youth have the opportunity to contribute and influence our project operations across the region and across various sectors. So I put a link in the chat. Please, any young people online, connect with Youth for Asia, and we'll be happy to share our activities. Certainly in the times of COVID-19, it is challenging for young people in the region. ADB, together with ILO, published a report on the challenges and the impact specifically on young young people, which is disproportionately high, starting from not a good position in terms of employment throughout the region. The areas of impact are significantly in jobs, the school to work transition that we've heard about, and also education and training programs. 50% of the young workers in the region are in the 4 most affected sectors. Also, we've heard of informality of work. There's a higher percentage of young people in informal work, particularly in India, where it's up to 80%. So this discussion about skills and entrepreneurship is very, very relevant for those solutions. And I put a link into this report, but that we published last year. What it does recommend is to help avoid a lockdown generation, and we recognise that the disruption, specifically with young people, will go on for many years, in line with experience from future negative impacts on the economy. There needs to be large-scale targeted responses, targeted at young people, targeted at education and training systems, targeted at labour market policies, and also targeted at those vulnerable young cohorts of young people as well. And layered over that, our recommendation, and in line with our experience with our Youth for Asia engagement mechanism, is a huge plug and the necessity to engage and empower young people in these policies, in the processes of rebuilding a new norm in the region, and mobilize the 1 billion young people that are in the region to participate in the solutions that are so much needed. I'll leave it there as my comments, but very happy to hear directly from young people or organizations working with young people throughout the region that ADB could also partner with, as we do with the UN family and UNICEF and GenU. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Chris. And Thomas, as we had in our pre-session briefing, I was saying to you that the way we bring up a conversation like this, we always see something like this happen every time. And we have a concept called gifts, because each one of you here giving your time, you need to go back with gifts, right? So we are ensuring that happens, and we've seen it happen literally, because what GIFT stands for is gender, innovation, finance, technology, and sustainable solutions. And we've heard so many across all these points from so many of the different speakers that I feel, at least now, we are almost there to kind of say that we've safely met our target, to make sure that we covered all these points and made sure that it came organically from all our speakers over here, and they have those gifts to take away. Because as I said, the Rise World Summit is not an event, it's a platform to take things forward and make a beginning, not the end. Thomas, over to you.
Exactly. No, thank you, Karen. And as was mentioned in the introduction, GenU, just like Rise, is very much a partnership-based platform. And I've seen in the chat box here that colleagues have been very eager to make connections, to share links, and so on. So that is certainly part of it. We also do want to focus on scale here, though, of course, because that is really what we need to do. We need to seek those innovative, smaller opportunities, but also then bring them to scale. So while we're looking at that, let's also see how we can galvanize and gather around the conversation on maybe a few key points. So let's continue the conversation a little bit, but really, to your point, Karen, be focused on programs and potential partnerships around there as well. One thing that came to mind that I've been hearing particularly over the last few months, that Rakesh alluded to, was the fact that the world and many of us have responded with interesting, innovative education opportunities, digital education opportunities as well, because so many of our young people can no longer go to school. However, those skills, those learnings and so on, a lot of them do not receive proper accreditation for those types of courses, which then means that their ability to add those to a resume and to have a lot of credential towards that, particularly looking at an employer going forward, public or private sector, and to colleagues' point earlier, a lot of them end up in informal sector, which you know is not necessarily where we want them to end up. So I just want to see if there are any innovative solutions, any great examples of accreditation, either from private sector or suppliers themselves, looking at these online courses and so on, to actually be able to provide that to young people. Do we have any hands who want to speak to that?
No, I would really like to call Aparna Shukla as well to kind of maybe say a few words, as well as Amit. So is that Aparna? Yes, great. Can I? Awesome.
Hello.
Great.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm from SBI Youth for India. It's a flagship program of SBI Foundation in India. And I wanted to talk a little bit about, like Thomas said, the vulnerable communities. And what our program basically does is provide a platform for urban youth in India to work in rural communities. So it doesn't only give them an opportunity to provide solutions, but also a fresh perspective on ground for the communities as well. So I was also a fellow 2 years back, and I worked in a small village in Tamil Nadu, training the youth about journalism. We made rural journalists, we started a newsletter. And because this was a disaster-prone area, we wanted the community to understand where they would stand 10 years from now, what is the kind of information that schools near the coast need, etc. So the conversation that I want to move towards is that especially now after COVID, there's a lot of reverse migration that is happening in rural communities, especially, and I'm sure it's prevalent in a lot of countries, that how can we create opportunities for population that cannot go back to cities? It is slowly migrating, but there's a sense of restlessness. Do I spend every day on my field where I can get a daily wage? Or do I spend my time building myself as an entrepreneur? How feasible is that for me? How feasible is that for me as a child? Do I go to a school or spend my days on the field with my father, where I would be adding income into my family? So these are aspects that come from they're very region specific. So I think perspectives also matter here while we are having this discussion, that every youth is going to have a very different kind of perspective to bring in.
Thank you so very much. Yes, that is a perspective that I think, Thomas, you were looking for, if I'm not mistaken, right? And thank you very much for bringing that in. I also wanted to hear a little bit from Amit Kumar. Amit, do we have you with us?
Hi, Karen. Yes, I'm very much here. And
thank you.
Thanks for inviting. It has been really interesting to listen to all the points made so far, and definitely fully resonate with what has been said. I have already put my comments on the chat box, and I specifically wanted to bring the 2 or 3 key points based on our experience, and also happy to partner with UNICEF and be part of the Yuva initiative at the UNDP India office. So one thing that we have been talking about youth, and in general, that's we always put this as a homogeneous group, which is not. So there is always the differences between the different, when you're talking about from the geographical point of view, from the socio-economic condition of the youth, you look into the gender, you look into the different aspects. So while creating and talking about youth, we also need to be aware about the differentiation into the different categories, and there is a need for, let's say, customized approach towards their needs. Point number 2 is, while technology is a great enabler, and definitely we need technology and to leverage the technology to really scale up many of the things that we want to do, and more so in a country like India, keeping in view the large populations and large geography. However, specifically into the rural and far-flung areas, technology alone, and that's basically the experience that we have working on these issues for the last 5 years in India, we have noticed is not really giving you the maximum impact of your investment. And we need an approach which is a combination of digital plus physical, and we somewhere using the term which is not exactly an English word, is also something a physical approach. So you need to combine the digital with the, how do you create those last mile connectivity, which is enabling the full advantage or full leveraging of the digital power. And third, the point which Supriya was also making and also made earlier is, while skilling, while 21st century skill set and all those are fine, but how do we really bring in the focus also on this local opportunities, whether it is for employment or whether it is for what Madan was talking about, opportunity entrepreneurship, and not only these so-called necessity entrepreneurship. So I think these 3 points I just wanted to bring into the mix of how we are looking into this whole youth journey ahead. So how do we look forward to support the youth's future? Thank you, Karen.
Thank you so very much. Definitely adds to the different perspectives that we are bringing in and the opportunities too. So may I next ask Mohanad Al-Jarrah to please say a few words and let us know what you think about the way forward and outcomes that we can look at.
Thank you for inviting me and to listen to all these important discussions. Actually, what I would like to share with all of you is what we have done here in Jordan, which is based on the system approach of doing educational and scalability initiatives. And this is where we worked to introduce and to scale up financial education curricula in all schools of Jordan. And this was a public-private alliance initiative where it was led by the Central Bank of Jordan, and it was funded by the private banks in Jazz and the Ministry of Education with Aflaton programs. And this was a mega project that started almost 8 years ago. And today, because we have used the system approach of early engagement of government, of ministries, of private sector, we are very proud to say that this ecosystem change or system approach has successfully been implemented and now is being integrated inside the Ministry of Education. So today, as we speak, we have every student in Jordan from the 7th grade all the way to senior high school is taking financial education curricula as part of their national curricula. And this system approach integration was very important because it's really sustainable rather to think from a project mentality where you have a start day and end day with checklist, and with the donor fund ends, it dies away and you don't leave an impact. So there's a big difference between the two approaches. And what we have done this work in Jordan is that Brookings institution in the US has captured this scalability model through their Millions Learning report, which in Jazz and Aflaton actually were featured as one of the 14 success story in scalability. Also, as recently, we also established in coordination with Brookings what we call real-time scaling lab. And this lab was initiated in 7 countries, in which Jordan was one of them. And it's about really looking at scalability model and sharing good practices with a financial education project. So this initiative really with Brookings has been captured in this real scaling lab, in which we get all the stakeholders together and we facilitate a co-creation workshop using design thinking methods, which I'm a design thinking practitioner. And we come up with solution to the challenges this project is facing, and then trying to figure out. So we are doing the intervention and redesigning in a real-time manner rather than being reactive. The last feedback or intro I would like to say is really what happened through the COVID crisis and the digital transformation that took place. COVID hits all of us by surprise, and really it puts the technology and digital transformation in the heart and the DNA of our work. And we had to be agile and transform our program through portal and through online methodology. And going back through many focus group and hearing from the youth, which is one of the main anchor in this conversation, the youth were always saying what we miss from the education in person compared to the education digitally is really the interaction that we are miss. We miss having the human interaction there. So I think the digital online delivery still lacks how we can integrate more the interaction and the human dimension into this, which needs to be looked at as we go forward. One more point I would like to mention, since this summit is linked to the SDGs, is really what happened through the COVID crisis is that the SDG number 4 become really, we have drifted away from it, because what happened is that the students who do not have their families, do not have the right financial income, could not interact in the same way like other students. So there was an internet connectivity issue. Some households cannot buy the fiber, or those do not have maybe one laptop or maybe one mobile. So really, we should look at the infrastructure, and this is in many countries in the region, and to ensure even when we do intervention with donors in the future, in the design, we should work hard to ensure that this integral component of the infrastructure is being fulfilled. Otherwise, we will have only the digital online virtual learning with the households who have good financial income, and leave behind the households who do not have the right financial income.
Sure. Okay. Sorry. Did he get muted, Mohanad? Did you mute yourself by mistake?
Thank you.
Okay. Oh,
yeah, no, I'm done with my interest.
Okay,
Thank you.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, if there's any question.
Great. Thank you. Thomas, I'm thinking we should bring in a youth voice, and maybe Amanda Kong from Malaysia is
yes,
if you are there, and maybe Thomas, you'd like to say a word before she joins as well. Amanda?
Great, thank you, Amanda. We see you online at least, so great, thanks so much. And Amanda, through your incredible work globally, but also in your home in Malaysia as well, can you please talk a little bit to the vulnerabilities and of young people who were born with disabilities or who are going through disabilities as well? As we look at this agenda, of course, we need to also focus on this through the equity lens.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Amanda. I work at the Make It Right movement, which is the CS corporate social responsibility arm, or we call it the community service arm of the Brickfields Asia College Education Group, which is the largest private education service provider. Well, in the Make It Right movement, our work actually focuses on championing various causes. And one of the communities that we actually work with is persons with disability. Because when we are talking about children and youth in Malaysia, the primary problem that we have is actually barriers to access. So especially when the COVID-19 pandemic hits, access is a problem, because youth and children face difficulty in accessing like education, the appropriate resources, because the resources available are not disabled friendly, for example, and the information available, for example, on COVID-19 and also related information in terms of education and also employment opportunities are limited, because unfortunately resources in Malaysia are not well developed to actually cater to the needs of these youths. Just a simple example, I'm blind. So for me, I would use screen readers when I'm working, replying to emails, messaging, and communicating. So most youths in Malaysia don't have access to this technology, and their knowledge are limited in these aspects. So it will be difficult for them to access certain platforms, online platforms. And some online platforms are not really disabled friendly as well, as in they don't have the right support to cater to persons with disability. And also for like children, especially those with intellectual disability, where we call them divergent learners, resources available are not actually catered to their understanding, wherein there are not much infographics or pictorial forms where the presentation is not easy for them to follow. So this is the primary challenge that we actually identify: access. And also in terms of access, there's employment as well. Most youths, especially divergent learners in Malaysia, face the problems once they reach adulthood, like 18 and above. So finding employment is a challenge because they don't know how to develop themselves or develop the necessary skills to help them to be employable and stay relevant in the new normal. Like, for example, when we are working from home, what are the online tools that you can utilize? As I said, like access is limited, so they don't have much experience on how to utilize online platforms or how to actually craft a resume and get like skill up, for the new normal, what other skills that you may need. So the Make It Right movement, the initiatives that we actually have are we work with corporate bodies, MNCs like DG or Roach, for example, in providing diversity and inclusion training. So what do we do actually for these trainings? We actually raise awareness by giving talks to corporate bodies on how to make your workplace inclusive. And also we educate youths on how to prepare themselves to be employable and how to live independently. How do you be self-sufficient and how do you sustain yourself in a new normal? What skill sets you need to have? Like how do you develop your personal branding? How do you make the first impression on your employers, and also managing family expectation, other like soft skills such as communication, interpersonal skills, and then how do you socialize, the important thing, how do you remove the barriers or stigma that you have in the society, how do you interact with people who are non PWDs, how do you raise awareness about your rights, understanding your rights, and how do you actually advocate for yourself. Another initiative that we have is actually a platform called specialjobs.com. I will put this in the chat shortly once I finish. So this is actually a job portal that we launched in collaboration with the Ministry of Human Resources in Malaysia, where we attempt to bridge the gap between equal opportunity employers, meaning employers who are keen to hire persons with disability, and also connect them with the job seekers with disability, youths included, right? So in this platform, we actually have dialogue sessions as well, where we actually create awareness, like I said. And we also do a training to acclimatize persons with youth with disability, like 18 and above, to the office environment. So what we do, we actually host them at our office once a week, where we give them a basic office task to help them stay relevant and stay up to date with the latest workforce requirement. And then we will do an assessment based on a practitioner's perspective on whether they are ready and have the capacity to work at the workplace. So these are some of the initiatives that we are doing.
Thank you so much, Amanda. I think you really brought some new perspectives, and I'm sure a lot of us are thinking different ways from where we were starting with. So thank you so very much. And one more point.
Add quickly that it's not actually the disability so much as the disability is the challenge, is the environment. Once we actually remove those barriers to access, it's actually the environment who make youth with disability disabled. in the sense, in Malaysia, once these barriers are removed and once this stigma is removed, and where there are better solutions come up by other companies on diversity and inclusion solutions or recommendations or policy, I think that persons with disability in Malaysia can have a better future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Amanda. As I said, you really brought in a different perspective, and I'm pretty sure that we'll have a lot more thoughts on this. Yeah, thank you very, very much. And I think one more voice which we've been missing, which I really would like to bring in, is that of government, and I'm going to ask Felix to please come in and bring in that perspective so that we can look forward. And we all know that, policy and government, etc., are so critical to taking any programs to scale. And so, Felix, may I request you to please come in and share a few words? Felix?
Hello, I'm very happy to be in this roundtable. I'm Felix Yao, regional representative of Aflaton for Francophone Africa and financial education program coordinator of the Ministry of National Education of Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. Very happy to take part to this roundtable. Many good things have been told. I would like quickly to come back on in 2 words on the challenges that young people face in Africa, especially in my country. To say that there are many challenges. First of all, young people need a quality and inclusive education. First of all, they need quality education. After, it will also be necessary to look at early pregnancies even in schools here. And you have some problems, problem like such as cybercrime, cyber prostitution, and so on and so forth. And in my country, really the government is engaged in developing, let's say, financial activities, financial program activities in the schools. And then the government has adopted a national financial program has been adopted in this country, calling to integrate financial education in the curricula. And we are supported in this process by Aflaton International. Okay. Talking about opportunities, I think that today everybody encourage all young people to take the path of entrepreneurship. This is good, but experience shows that a young person without a financial literacy has little chance of succeeding in entrepreneurship. Financial education coupled with social education becomes a real opportunity to provide skills to young people who want to undertake. COVID-19 teaches us the importance and usefulness of digital. Digital is an opportunity to democratize access to these educational contents. We here develop social and financial education capsules for young people. We have also developed a chatbot that allows young people to learn how to manage their budgets and their income. We also give courses and lessons in the classrooms. We teach to the young people how to save, and for that, we create saving groups called here Aflaton clubs. Okay. We give them opportunity to learn about social and financial enterprises. We develop, let's say, many activities here to give the opportunity to young people to learn more about, let's say, social and financial education.
So thank you very much, Felix. I think you brought in that really, the policy as well as the on ground. I mean, the combination of both. I think you bring that kind of experience. So it really definitely gives us some more food for thought, for sure.
I could have tell more, but since my English is small, okay.
No, I don't think so at all. Absolutely, I think it was.
I just struggle. Yes.
No, not at all. We definitely really appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us, and it definitely brings in a different perspective. So thank you very much once again. And I am going to request Brian. We are coming to almost the end. And I really would request that all those who have not been able to speak, and my apologies to you. It's a bit difficult to have 70 people in the 2-hour slot to kind of talk, but I would definitely request you to please put down your thoughts. These are the last few minutes that we have, so please do put down your thoughts and keep the chat box moving. Yeah. And before we kind of come to an end, I am going to ask for Brian. Brian, are you with us as here? And if I could have you say a quick few words, would be really quickly. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, I think the key nowadays, what we are doing with the Make It Right movement together with our mothership, so to speak, our colleges, we are doing something called Project Deep. And Project Deep is leveraging off technology. Instead of having 6 months, 1 year, 2-year courses that take up a lot of time and people can't afford it, we are offering for free at this point in time. We are doing training on things like social media marketing, social media management, things that are current so that they can work in the gig economy. And what we do after that is then when we give this training for free, we also help them find a job very quickly. So it's a very short training. It's very specific. It's a very skill set training, focus on one skill set, and which gives them, then the ability to go to an employer with something tangible to go and work on. That's one of the things that we're doing. It was mentioned before, the idea of internships and volunteering. We are doing a program here in Malaysia on managing internships for non-profits. Developing the young person to how to work for non-profits. And if you can work for a non-profit, you can work for anybody actually. In my opinion. So yeah, we are looking at that angle too. And we focus a lot on also refugee development in Malaysia. It's a pity that we're coming to an end. You can listen to the amazing story of Hassan from Syria, who is also in this group today. But yeah, we at the moment are the largest education provider for refugees in Malaysia. We have many programs for them. So we try to make it as holistic as possible. And I think the truth is, as much as technology helps, without the key relevant person to be the soul behind the program, nothing works, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Brian. Really, as you said, if we had time, we'd have so many amazing innovators and change makers in the room today. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of stories. And so I would again say that these case studies, we should make them to point to kind of design and kind of collect these case stories so that we can share it more and more with others. Because I think knowledge sharing, best practices is really critical, especially when we have youth as innovators and change makers. So thank you very much for pointing that out to us. So may I request Babette to also join us and share some of his thoughts, please.
Thank you for asking me to join this roundtable and to give me almost the last word. That's quite an honor. I've been listening very interested to every participant, especially the point of view of most people is quite different from where I work from. We're in the Netherlands based organization, and we work mostly with Dutch children. What really got to me is to hear that the impact of COVID is mostly the same wherever you are in the world. We have programs from very young children, children in secondary school, and for young people who just start their career. And what we see is that they are very insecure about their future. So hearing all this input from everybody around the world, it makes me, it gives me a lot of inspiration to give the children here in the Netherlands more perspective, making them realize that they're not on their own, that they're part of a really global movement where a lot of people and a lot of young people are looking with them how to work with the challenges we are dealing with right now. I heard a lot about entrepreneurship, and what I would like to add to that is that I think that entrepreneurial skills in the broadest sense of the word are the most important thing to give to young people. Whether you are going to start your own enterprise and giving work to others, or if you're going to work for somebody else, you really need to be able to define your own capacities, be able to see what is need within the organization where you are working or within the community where you are living. And one of the other things that really touched me is that sustainability is so high on everybody's agenda. I think because I really think that's one of the things that unites us globally. It impacts us all very much. What I also think is that we should work very much more together. So I'm very pleased that Aflaton is also our partner, because I think they are one of the organizations that help us unite all the energies we're trying to put into helping children and young people. And what I wrote down, which I think I'm gonna keep with me for the rest of my life, is the young woman from India who talked to us and said, children have a voice and we need to listen to them much more than we already do. It's not about what they want to be in the future, it's what they want to be now. So empowering them to be able to do that, I think that's what we need to take from this seminar. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Babette, and you indeed did have the last word. So we heard you well and loud and clear. So thank you very much. As I said, coming to the end, Thomas, I'm going to ask you to please do wrap this up and take us to the last stretch. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Karen and Babette and everybody who provided interventions. I will come in just 1 or 2 minutes, but I first wanted to give the floor or offer the floor back to Roland Monage, who spoke quite early, as Aflaton was indeed one of the institutions that was mentioned quite a bit. Maybe just to share some perspective of what you heard, Roland, and you know, a way forward or two. I'll share just a simple way forward too, and then we will conclude this session. So Roland, if you are there and available, please take the floor.
Thomas, thank you so much. You're taking me a bit by surprise because there is so much. I am not going to summarize it, but what we are hearing is that we are all in the same boat. We're very like-minded, and the challenge for us is to find the most effective ways of working together. I think we all agree on what the issue is. That's an urgent issue, and that there are models of success which are scalable. The challenge is now is following this inspiring 2-hour session is how do we go and operationalize that? And for that, of course, I look very much at Generation Unlimited. Aflaton and the network is very much with you. But the inspiration of the young people we've heard today, together with the policymakers and the programmers, it's a no-brainer. We just need to now translate these words into action. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Roland. And I had a few colleagues who said that actually pass it on to Roland just towards the end. And I'm glad you did as well, because this is indeed needs to be translated into actions. And though it's been an extremely a rich conversation, we do need to make sure that we act on this as well. So in the chat box now, I just sent the email address to a couple of fantastic colleagues on the GenU team that work particularly on the youth people's engagement, and then these various youth committees. So I encourage all the young people on this call to please reach out to them. We have a wide range of activities that you could be engaged in, both at the global and at your national levels. Another thing is there's been so many different areas here, from education to skills to employability, entrepreneurship, school to work transition, so many different work streams that we see, all of them very valid. One point that we didn't touch upon too deeply was advocacy, particularly with government, but that's also certainly an incredibly important work stream there. Generation Unlimited is currently working on a solutions database, which we intend to be open source, where we gather a lot of great solutions and great programs, innovative ideas globally into a platform, and then act as a connector and a convener of partners as well through that, of course, at the global level, but very much looking at those national partnerships as well. We will be launching that shortly, and we have many assets around there, including solutions and partnerships. So I would encourage you to please reach out to Generation Unlimited, reach out to colleagues who were on this summit, on this call. That was the whole intention behind this, to make those connections and then to forge partnerships to continue going forward with. And I'll just conclude by saying that though COVID has presented tremendous opportunities and deepened hardships globally as well, particularly within young people, it's also opened up tremendous innovation, tremendous opportunities going forward. And we really see young people stepping up, taking the opportunity and claiming that voice and those rights to continue with innovative programming. So us as adults, and Dhuwar mentioned this in the beginning, it really is young people's turn to take the lead on this. We are here to listen to you. We are here to enable you and basically lead from behind. So thank you again, and back to you, Karen.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Last few housekeeping tips. First and most important is the group picture. So I'm going to request you all to please do turn on your videos. Mandatory, absolutely mandatory. So if I could have as many videos turned on, please, that would be so awesome. Yeah. And maybe even a victory sign, I think we did a great job. Don't you think so? Yeah, we got a lot of voices in, we had a lot of mix, a lot of diversity perspectives, and yes, solutions. So yes, we started with challenges, but we ended up at solutions. So let me make that happen. Okay, please turn on your videos. Please do turn on your videos. We want to see you. Awesome, awesome. Great. Thank you all very much. And the last bit of housekeeping rules is that we are going to take this conversation forward. This is not the end, this is the beginning. So we do have a LinkedIn group that will be there for all RISE Summit attendees and special interest groups. So please join us. They're also in your chat box. So look at them, look at the program. There are a lot of interesting topics. In fact, there's one right after this, which is on digital transformation for learning and crisis in the US, specifically for the US. So all those folks from the US, please do try and see if you can join us for that. But it's been really great conversation, and I thank you very much. Any feedback, always welcome. And my apologies to those who wanted to speak, but I could not get that opportunity out there. I hope you do understand, and have a great evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. As I said, stay good, stay healthy, and stay safe. Thank you, and good night. Bye-bye.